everybody, welcome. I'm Daniel G. Garza, and this is another episode of Put It Together live stream. How's everybody doing? Welcome to a special pop-up show. It is Tuesday, August 2nd. It is August already. Can't believe that. And as I've told you before, I want welcome. Sorry, I'm trying to get this show. There we go. Welcome all of our friends watching us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. If you do us a favor and post this on your page so that other folks can watch along with you. If you're watching us on YouTube, do us a favor. Scroll down, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. It'll let you know every time there's a new show coming up. And as you can see, we've been having some weekday shows lately. If you're watching live today, I also have an afternoon show today. And it's the connection between HIV and HPV from the folks from Cuídate El Paso out of UT El Paso. So if you want to watch that, come join us back at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. On today's show, he is a friend of the show and a very dear friend of mine. Let me tell you a little bit about him. Charles Sanchez is a very busy being good. Charles Sanchez is very busy being good at a lot of things, especially being gay. A writer openly living with HIV. He is a contributing editor for TheBody.com, and his work has been featured in leading publications like Pause Magazine, HuffPost Queer Voices, PositivelyAware.com, Them.us, and more. Charles' groundbreaking web series Mercy, a public comedy about a person who's living with HIV and isn't sick, sad, or dying, garnered him awards at the official Latino Short Film Festival and America's Rainbow Film Festival, among others. His lifelong dedication to the arts and activism has been recognized on Healthline.com's list of HIV honors, the most influential voices, and Pause Magazine's Pause 100. When he's not busy writing, performing, baking, or generally making the world a better place, Charles can be seen charming audiences and his guests on At Home With, his popular Instagram live talk show On The Body, featuring prominent members of the HIV and LGBTQ plus community. And I've had the honor of being on the show, I think twice already. I'm hoping to go back at some point. On today's show, we're going to talk about, we usually, Charles and I can be very silly together, but we're really going to talk about something quite serious today. We're going to talk about monkeypox, and he's going to share his personal story on this. Before we start, I want to give you the CDC's definition of monkeypox, just so you can have that. Monkeypox is a rare disease caused by infection with the monkeypox virus. Monkeypox virus is part of the same family of viruses as variola virus, the virus that causes smallpox. Monkeypox symptoms are similar to smallpox symptoms, but milder, and monkeypox is rarely fatal. Monkeypox is not related to chickenpox. Monkeypox was discovered in 1958 when 2 outbreaks of a pox-like disease occurred in colonies of monkeys kept for research. Despite being named monkeypox, the source of the disease remains unknown. However, African rodents and non-human primates like monkeys might harbor the virus and infect people. The first human case of monkeypox was recorded in 1970. Prior to the 2022 outbreak, monkeypox has been reported in people in several Central and Western African countries. Previously, almost all monkeypox cases in people outside of Africa were linked to international travel to countries where the disease commonly occurs or through imported animals. These cases occurred in multiple continents. So with all that information said, we want to hear Charles' story. So with that, I'm going to bring Charles on and start talking to him. Hey, Charles, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here. Do you know what else I just recently about monkeypox itself, like the name monkeypox? They're trying to change it because they think it's stigmatizing or something to somebody, monkeys, I don't know. But from the last I talked to an infectious disease specialist, they said they're starting to try to refer to it as MPV, like monkeypox virus, I guess, MPV. But I don't know that's I like monkeypox. I think it's at least a little bit funny.
that would be a way to, I guess, yeah. I'm going to be honest. When I first heard of it, I was like, what are they coming up with now? Like, what are they making up?
I thought it was I didn't think it was a hoax, but I was like, oh, mountain out of a molehill. They're just one more thing. They're trying to make us scared.
Yeah, I wasn't. Hi, Tony. How you doing, Papa? Thank you for joining us. Yeah, I was not, because of everything else that occurred. I'm like, is this just another version of COVID that we're dealing with? And
The
like,
monkeypox variant.
yeah, are we just like, because like what last one was, what, Omicron? I'm like, are we running out of like fancy names and now we're just giving something else?
I'll just throw some shit out.
But one of the cool things about like you and I and our professional careers and in advocacy is that we have access to meetings and information and emails sometimes that most people don't get. And then I got an email from NMAC talking about it, and I was like, oh, wait a minute, this is real. So before we even get started, um, you're always so open and so honest about the things that happen in your life, and usually when you come on the show, it's like we try to make it life fun topics. The last show he was on, we were talking about coming out of disability, which you're like, what? But no, it was how we have survived being out back in the world outside of disability. So thank you ahead of time for coming on and knowing you, being so vulnerable and sharing your story. So without further, can we just start from the beginning? Tell us how you
Sure.
put these together.
Well, I live in New York City, and the beginning of the outbreak was here in New York City, and when they were already saying that it was hitting gay men, and they lovingly said and I say it's the CDC as well as like the New York City Department of Health. Were saying that it was targeting gay men, and that the most vulnerable gay men were men who slept with men who had MSMs, men who have sex with men who have multiple anonymous sex partners. And I was like, well, that's really stigmatizing language. That you might as well just go ahead and say slut, which I don't mind. I can claim that. But I thought, like, for other people, that's not really good language. And so I've been saying socially, sexually active. But anyways, so it started happening in New York, and the first day that we had some vaccine in New York, the appointments for the vaccines were gone like in 5 minutes, and which shows how responsible the gay community and the men who have sex with men community. Like, we wanted to protect ourselves. We did, and then the second day they had more vaccines, they were gone in 8 minutes. Like, there were no appointments to be had. One day it was actually July 14th. I was supposed to do an at-home with show for the body, and I had woken up that day and I was feeling a little off. I was feeling like tired, and I had a little bit of nausea and I had a headache. But the show must go on, and I'll get up and perform. Like, I'll be on my deathbed with an IV bag, and I'll be like, I got to get onto the show. So I don't like. I really am like, no, I'll do the show. I could perform, but a half hour before the show, I threw up, and that's not part of my routine. So I canceled the show, and I went back to bed, and I started. At first, I thought I had COVID, but I had taken a COVID test, and it was negative. So I wasn't sure what I had. I was looking up other symptoms. I thought, oh, what if I have monkeypox? Wouldn't that be a drag? And then like a day later, I found a sore on my hand that looked like a bug bite, and also on my torso. And I was kind of like, uh-oh. Between the symptoms I was having and the actual like bug bite, and I Googled that too, like, what do the first symptoms of monkeypox, like what do the actual pox look like? And they say, like, it looks like a bug bite, and then it looks like a zit, like, because it looks sort of like a whitehead, and they can become, some people, they can get them very big. I did not, luckily. But then Saturday I went to go to a city MD to get tested, and the doctor looked at me and she's like, yeah, it looks like monkeypox. And with everything I said, I was like, yeah, I think it's probably monkeypox. But she told me that it would be between 3 or 4 days for the results of the test to come back, because they were so overloaded between monkeypox and COVID. The labs were overloaded with tests they had to process. So I was like, oh, great, 5 days, 4 or 5 days, super. And meanwhile, even though they could tell I had it, they couldn't give me anything for it because they hadn't gotten the test result back. So she said, like, one of the symptoms I was starting to have was that my bowel movements were incredibly painful, like I was pooping glass, broken glass.
Oh, wow.
It was awful. And I've come to find out later, since I've learned more and talked to other people who've had it, that symptom is pretty common. A lot of people have had that. And even one of the doctors told me it's been presenting even in people who say they haven't had sex. So it's not like a sexual issue. So over the weekend, after I got home from the clinic, Sunday into Monday, like that whole weekend, I just was miserable. I couldn't get enough to drink. I was really, really thirsty. I was nauseated, I had a headache, I had fever, I had sweats. Plus I was starting to get pox. I had probably about 20 pox total all over my body. So not very many actual lesions. Only one on my face, thankfully, because, the moneymaker. But
yes.
My fortune is here and back here. So both affected, but not too bad. But it was awful. It was as bad as I felt when I had COVID last October. It was very, very miserable. Plus, I was like alone. I live alone in a studio apartment in New York City. So I was by myself. I was incredibly lonesome. I was really sick. I didn't feel like the things that I would normally do to comfort myself, food, chocolate, baking. I wasn't hungry. I didn't feel like eating. I was forcing myself to eat, like, just have a yogurt, just eat some fruit, like eat something so your body has some energy. I talked to my primary care physician on Monday, and he recommended that I go to the emergency room. Because he said, if you're having these symptoms, go to Bellevue, because Bellevue is where they first had the first cases of monkeypox back in May. He also told me, he goes, don't go to the emergency room in Queens, where I live. He goes, go to Manhattan. You want to go to the Manhattan doctors. You don't want to go to the Queens doctors, which was a little classist, but I did what I was told. So I went to Bellevue, which is a city hospital. So that's not glamorous. It was very unglamorous. You may, if you watch any crime shows, any Law and Order, they'll say like, oh, he's over at Bellevue. Oh, we're going to check him into Bellevue. Bellevue, that's Bellevue. It's a city hospital. And so there was like graffiti and grime and like handwritten signs of things. But they took me right away. They were like, monkeypox, come on in. And they put me in a glass, like a cell, basically. It was an exam room with big windows, but I was alone. And the nurse came and she was talking to me through the glass because they didn't want anybody near me.
Right.
And so the doctor came in. He was in a hazmat suit, which shades of early AIDS. And like when I say it was a cell, I mean, like, I don't know if you've ever been to jail, Daniel, but they have these little toilets that are metal and they are cemented to the wall because they don't want you to pick up the toilet or something.
You don't want a souvenir from jail.
Right. The metal toilet. Like, this is cute. So I was like, wow, I've never been to a hospital where they had like the metal prison toilet.
Wow.
So anyway, so the doctor came in and he was very kind. And he said, like, he took a look at all my body parts and said, like, yeah, it looks like monkeypox with everything that you're presenting with. He said, I'm sorry you're in so much pain. And he gave me an not the big bad one, the other one, oxycodone. He gave me an oxycodone, which is magic. And I felt like I started feeling better. I was like, oh, okay, this is helpful. And he gave me a prescription for that because he goes, this is going to help you so that you don't scream in agony when you go to the bathroom. And he also said, like, he continued to take things to help with your fever and liquids. But even though he knew I had monkeypox, but he couldn't give me the TPOX, which is the only treatment that they're using right now, because the test still hadn't come back from the clinic. And if he gave me a new test, it would still be another 3 or 4 days before that result.
Oh, man.
So like 2 or 3 days later, I got my test result back. It was positive. An infectious disease doctor called me from Bellevue. And she was lovely. She said, we don't know very much about monkeypox. So we're kind of flying blind. We're really trying to gather a lot of information. We're having an abundance of caution. Like we don't want you to get sicker, and we don't want you to get other people sick. That's why we're asking you to like stay home. So I completely isolated from the minute I thought it was monkeypox.
Wow.
So I was in my apartment for basically 2 weeks by myself, except to go to the doctor and to go to like the pharmacy to pick up the oxycodone.
Wow. Okay. Before you continue, there's a couple of things that I want to like. First of all, I got an email this morning, and which was really interesting because I didn't have this information for yesterday's show. Just a little disclaimer: we were going to do this show yesterday, but there was a rolling blackout in LA. Anybody in LA? We had a rolling blackout, so we could not do the show. Which is interesting because I got this email this morning with this information that currently the CD shows data that the Latinx community makes up 31% of cases, and the African American community makes up 27% of the cases. Currently, as of July 29th, which is only days ago, there were 5,189 cases reported nationwide. So I'm just going to put that information out there.
And that's just reported.
Reported, yes.
One of the reasons I decided to go to the doctor was because I wanted to be counted. I knew that it was important to be counted. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and there's a couple of comments that were placed out. One by Tony, who says, we were just arguing about that nonsense of outbreak blaming the gay community. Media is to blame the way they delivered messages like that. And I want to talk more about that in just a second, because we're also part of media, and we have, this is why we're doing this show, folks, because we have that responsibility. And Emery says, it was very upsetting the way they grew out of gay men, cause it sent me right back to how they stigmatized gay men with HIV, which is what you were just talking about. When in reality, anybody could catch it, which I'm going to tag on. I was reading an article this morning about a doctor I think it's on TikTok or YouTube, but a doctor in Madrid who was on the train, and he noticed a man with the bites, no, they're called bites.
You look a little pocky. He looked a little pocky.
Yeah, is that what it's like? Yeah. So the lesions, let's call them lesions, right?
Or blemishes.
Blemishes. There you go. And he went up to him and said, hey, you have monkeypox. You should not be on the train. And he's like, well, the doctor told me as long as I wore a mask. He's like, no, that's not how this works. Like, you should not, it's the lesions. And that the lady that was sitting next to him, he asked her, it's like, aren't you concerned that you can catch monkeypox? She's like, oh no, that's just gay people. So, and he was just shocked. He's like, I couldn't convince anybody around me. So I just got off the train. He's like, what else can I do? So let me start with this. Was there any sense when you went to the doctor or as you're seeking treatment, was there any sense, you know what I mean? That was that energy around, like, oh, you're gay?
They asked me, not the initial doctor or like the initial doctors that I talked to, but the infectious disease doctor that I did a video visit with. She who actually also, she was terrific, and she offered me the TPOX, which by that point I was starting to feel better, so I didn't take it. But she also asked me about sexual encounters, about my sexual partners. The Department of Health also called me and asked, they were trying to like contact trace. And so like when they asked me for names and phone numbers of my partners, I said, I do not feel comfortable giving you that information, but rest assured that I have contacted them. And I did, which was not fun and not easy, but it's what you're supposed to do. But I just thought like, wow, this is not how viruses work. It may be starting in the gay community as far as it being transmitting faster there right now, like at the beginning. But some of those men who have sex with men, then are going to go home to their wives, and some of like we know how viruses work, or they go to the store, or because you can get it from shaking someone's hand who's got monkeypox. You can get it from a prolonged hug. It's from contact, from prolonged contact.
Yeah. So we have a question on the board for you, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Did the pox grow in your rectum first or early on in your experience? Well, and then how quickly did the bug bites start to look like monkeypox?
Well, I was going to say, like, contrary to what Daniel might think, I do not have my head up my ass, so I do not know if there were actual sores in my rectum that were like, I did not see them. I just felt like a lot of pain in my stool. So like, I don't know what was happening inside my rectum. I do know when I went to the City MD and they were testing me, like they did test sores that were on my buttocks, like around the exit area. And for me, like they went from those actual sores went from bug bite to sort of zit to then scabbed over. So they never looked like a big pox or like a chicken pox or anything. Like I never got that. Mine were sort of relatively small, but they were like a scabbed over cut, or like if that's kind of what it looked like on my hand. And like I had two on my hand, I had one on my face. Probably about the whole, like from the first noticing the sore to it like scabbing over, like 4 or 5 days, probably a week. The whole sickness took 2 weeks for me, like literally 2 weeks. And they say it generally takes 2 to 4 weeks for most people.
When will people stop being ignorant and realize viruses do not care about your sexual preference? No, they do
right.
not.
They don't care about your sexual preference. They don't care about your race. They don't care about how much money you make. They don't. I do think that this particular pox did look at me and go like, he's cute. I think that.
He thinks he's too much. He thinks he's too popular. Let's stop him. But yeah. I mean, we do have to be, and yes, I don't like to get political on the show, but we do have to be careful the way we put out information when it comes to things like this, because it does feed into the political agendas for some folks. So we have to be very careful. Let's talk a little bit about fears, anxieties, and maybe triggering for you. Can we talk about that?
Sure. Well, anytime I get sick, I had this, like you, Daniel, like we were both, this is one of the, Daniel and I, whenever we first met, and ever since, we find all these similarities in our stories, all these things about that we're like, oh yeah, me too. And one of the things is that my diagnosis was AIDS. I almost died. My T-cell count was 4. I was in the hospital for the better part of a month. But that was really scary. And I remember that HIV, that AIDS diagnosis, thinking like, am I going to die? Am I dying? And kind of having to decide that I wasn't. But I had that when I got COVID last October. That was the first time I was that sick where I thought, oh my gosh, this might take me out. If I get any more sick and I have to go to the hospital, like this could be it. I didn't have that fear with monkeypox of death, but that sickness just echoes, and that feeling that, oh right, I'm a sick person. I'm a sick person who gets sick. I'm, like that awful definition that we sometimes can tell ourselves that can be made worse when you're not feeling your best, when you're weakened, and everything, my emotions were all heightened. So that included like fear and shame, and I had to really. One of the things that I wrote an article for The Body about my monkeypox experience, and while I don't know specifically how I got monkeypox, but I am a socially sexually active person. And it's something that I have been more so in the last year than probably ever in my whole life. I've been letting go of shame, and I've been letting go of all the things that have scared me all my life about being gay and about what people might think about me being gay, and have just like had this sexual renaissance. So when I got sick from monkeypox and the shame spiral started, like, oh, maybe I did this to myself. And I did that with AIDS too, with HIV. Like, oh, I did this to myself. I made this happen. I deserve this. All these awful things that we can tell ourselves. And it took me a while. And there's a part of me that's still feeling like a little dirty, and not in the fun way. That's still feeling like I'm a dirty person who gets this dirty disease.
Yeah. So can we have another question for you? Have you received previous to your infection the vaccination for shingles? I have heard that can affect how intense the monkeypox case is.
Oh wow! I have not heard that. So I didn't. But I did get a vaccine for shingles last year or year before. So yeah, I've had that, but I have not heard that. I know that the shingles, it's the chickenpox. It's the same as chickenpox vaccine, and chickenpox and monkeypox are not in the same family.
Not in the same family. Yeah.
But that's not to say that the vaccine might not trigger some sort of response in you. I don't know.
If for anybody out there, because I have, if you received the shingles vaccine, it's for about 3 days, you feel like you have shingles. It's really horrible. So we have another question for you. So the doctor gave some oxy for pain, but what was the treatment again? I may have missed it. Did you get a vaccine or other pills?
Okay. So I didn't get vaccine because I had the actual sickness. And they didn't give me the only treatment is T-pox, which is the smallpox treatment. And they couldn't give it to me when I was seeing the doctors because the test result hadn't come back yet. And they have to have, that's the protocol, is you have to test positive before they can give you the medication. And by the time the test result came back and they offered me the medication, I was already starting to feel better. So I felt like this medication is better given to somebody who is in a worse position than I am right now. Although she did also say to me, if you start feeling badly again, call me, let me know, and we'll put you on that medication. So that was good. But the one good thing, I don't need to get the vaccine because now I have immunity, which I've heard from several doctors. My doctor actually said, you probably have immunity. The CDC may come say in 6 months that you should get a vaccine anyway. If they do, and when they do, we'll get you the vaccine. But right now, you don't need it. I don't want you to get it. Don't get it.
So it is like the other pox in the groups. Like once you get it, you're immune. That's it. You're done.
Yeah. Oh. That's what they're saying. Now again, monkeypox is different from smallpox, and they're using smallpox as a guide.
Right.
So monkeypox may have its own, things, its own little tricks in store.
For everybody watching, my guest today is my friend Charles Sanchez, and we're talking a monkeypox story, which is his personal story. Please, if you have any questions or comments, please include them in whatever channel you're watching on. I'm going to repeat, and I want to add this part because we're talking about viruses. So I want to read this to you. A virus is an infectious agent that can only replicate within a host organism. Viruses can infect a variety of living organisms, including bacteria, plants, and animals. Viruses are so small that a microscope is necessary to visualize them, and they have a very simple structure. So again, it's kind of like when we talked about HIV, it's like it's a virus. It needs to live inside an organism. It needs to find a host. Most viruses are not necessarily airborne. Not that I'm saying that it's not. So let me clarify that. I'm not saying because there is information that the lesions can cause infection when you're close to somebody. The last that I heard is that you needed to be around somebody who's got monkeypox for at least 3 hours for you to get infected. But don't go experiment. These are just informations that I've gotten off
Yeah,
of.
I have some information like with regards to infection as well. Like they say, like prolonged touching. But on the other side of the spectrum, I interviewed Brian Thomas, who's been a little bit. He's a nurse, and he's kind of been the poster child of monkeypox, more than me even. But he said that he had a doctor that told him, because once the sores scab over, to me I was like, oh, then they're fine. And he said, no, there could still be active virus in the flakes of the scab, like you know how you shed skin all day. So that's one of the reasons then I better stay my sweet ass at home. When I did go out, like when I had to go to the store and stuff, I put bandages over the pox to at least keep them somewhat
Contained
and not, and also so people wouldn't see like and go the pox, the pox.
Oh,
unclean.
The shame. Sorry, folks, we can't be completely serious when we're together. Let me read to you again. Let me read to y'all again. We're halfway through the show, but I want to read to you again the CDC's definition about monkeypox. Monkeypox is a rare disease caused by infection with the monkeypox virus. Monkeypox virus is a part of the same family of viruses as variola virus, the virus that causes smallpox. Monkeypox symptoms are similar to smallpox symptoms, but milder, and monkeypox is rarely fatal. Monkeypox is not related to chickenpox. And I want to make sure that we just repeat that so that you guys can know. Want to thank you for your information. Here's another question for you. Charles, do you feel there is an adequate warning and information being available for high-risk individuals across the human spectrum? Ooh, good question.
I don't, because I think the information is still kind of anecdotal. I also think the government, I've been feeling this way about the government for a long time. Like they're not taking care of us. They're not adequately taking care of us. When you can go to other countries and get a monkeypox vaccine, you can go to Canada right now and get one, and yet we can't go here in New York City. In New York City, my doctor doesn't have the vaccine. It's insane. So I think that there's not enough information, and there's not, and I think COVID and the COVID deniers and the vaccine deniers have really put a bad thing in our country's mindset about vaccines and about viruses. So people think they know better than the medical professionals, and I don't know better than them. I went to the American Musical and Dramatic Academy, so my medical knowledge is not, it's everything I learned from like Law and Order and my doctor, and from like reading the CDC and like things like that. So I don't think that there's enough information, and I don't think there's enough like taking care of, like the government taking care of us the way that they're supposed to.
Yeah. Most of my medical education comes from personal experience and forensic files. That's how I know. Most of those people are dead already.
Right.
So if you're dead, I could probably tell you what you died of, but not.
Like,
but I do want to. I don't want to gloss over it and talk for anybody watching this, whether you are part of the LGBTQ community or not. This is not a gay disease. This is not. Although most of the media talks about gay and bi men being the larger scale spreaders of, this is not just a gay and bi disease. So please, if you're going to take anything away from today's episode, is that this can happen to anybody, and because when I started reading things like that, it did take me back. Even though I was diagnosed with HIV in 2000, I remember being in South Texas, and a lot of people in South Texas, which is majority Latinos, having this idea is like, well, I'm not a white gay man, I can't get HIV. And it's like, no, that's not how this works. So is there anything you want to add or add to that?
Well, they have said there are a couple of children in the United States that have been diagnosed with monkeypox, and I was like, ooh, that's also, children are also super spreaders. Like they get together and they play things and stuff. So that was scary to me. But that's just, yeah, that's what happens. Someone came over and hugged the kid, and the kid got it. That's what happens.
I'm
Um,
looking right now. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I just hope that, I think everybody needs to get the vaccine when it becomes available to you in your community.
Yeah, there's no specific number right now as to how many children um, have been diagnosed, but the latest record shows that there were two more children in the last 24 hours that tested
Wow.
positive. But I don't have the accurate number of how many. Um, so for the people that jumped in halfway through the show, so we can come, can you walk us again step by step on the symptoms and how they started up until you went to the doctor's
Sure.
office?
Yeah, the symptoms started with just me, feeling badly, feeling nauseated and having a headache and a little bit of a fever. And then I threw up, and that's not good. And then I started to notice bug bite, what I thought were looked like bug bites on my hand and on my torso. And then I went and got tested. But I also experienced uh, extreme thirst, no appetite, nausea, uh, broken glass feeling defecation, like screaming defecation. That was really awful. And restlessness. Am I missing a symptom? Did I skip one? It was a misery. It was really miserable. And luckily I did not have very many actual pox. I had maybe 20 all over my body, but everybody's different.
So there's a couple of questions, but number one, because I come from the anal cancer community, so um, just for folks to understand, and I'm not trying to be super graphic for everybody out there. I just want y'all to understand. If you've had hemorrhoids, was it like a hemorrhoid?
It was like hemorrhoids times 1,000.
Gotcha. Okay, because I
It
had
was
the
it
hemorrhoid.
was it was it was so incredibly painful. And I was like, I was muffling my own screams so that my neighbors didn't think there was murder happening in my apartment. Um, and so when I finally and I was taking migraine medication because I was like, oh, this has got like a couple different painkillers in it and some caffeine that might help me out. And it did help. But until I got the prescription grade painkiller, which totally helped and helped me get through those really, really rough days. Because I didn't want to. That was another thing I didn't want to eat because I knew I was going to have to go to the bathroom later. And I was like, this is not, and that's not good. Your body needs energy, especially when it's fighting viruses.
And then, so the lesions pop up. You mentioned first it looked like a mosquito bite, and then it grows. Is there like pus
Yes, it grows like a zit, like a whitehead. So it
okay.
has like white pus. And that's also that's infectious. That pus is infectious if it pops, and they also had been telling me through that whole time to continue to wipe down your surfaces with antibacterial wipes, and they also told me there's not a lot of information online as to how to take care of yourself when you have this. So I got some information from from other people, and one of the other things that I would not have thought of was my laundry is infected. You can get it from if you share a bed with somebody who has monkeypox, or you share a towel with someone who has monkeypox, you could possibly get it. So when I was doing my laundry after I was well, I went and bought, like they said, buy some laundry sanitizer and use the hottest water you can use. I was like, oh, I wouldn't have even thought of that. But that, of course, you could live in machines and colder, if you don't kill it. So,
so once it pops, except for it's like a really bad pimple, and it scabs over. Is there
over.
is it are you gonna have the markings for life?
Well, I have like a little scar here. I don't see a scar here. Like you can't really see a scar on my forehead. Um, I made somebody look at my behind my naked ass yesterday because I was like, "Is there scarring?" And well, a girl's got to know,
Yeah.
and um, and they're like, no, you can't really even see it. So I think I think like chicken pox, if you scratch chicken pox, then it scars and it becomes a problem. So I think it's the same way. Like there's this one on my hand that you can sort of see, but it's because I was doing dishes and I bumped it and I popped when I basically scratched it when I shouldn't have.
Gotcha.
But none of the other ones have like left a mark that I've really noticed.
We have another question for you. Should we start bringing bottles of 70% alcohol with us to spray on any surfaces we might come in contact with? It seems we're approaching this reality. Not trying to be an alarmist, just a realist.
I don't know if that's how realistic that is. I mean, it might be realistic for you. If that's going to make you feel comfortable and safe, then go for it. I think that's perfectly fine. For me, I'm not that way. I was very aware of but I live alone. But I was very aware of cleaning surfaces, just thinking ahead of like people coming over and like my friend Joel coming over to bring me. I was drinking Powerade, sugar-free Powerade, because that was the best thing for me to drink. And he was bringing me like 12 bottles at a time. And just like, even though he wasn't coming to my apartment, I wanted it to be the least infectious as it could be, even for myself, like, so I don't know if we're going to have to walk around with anti-sterilization.
Yeah, don't necessarily go buy your hazmat suit just yet. Unless they come in good colors, and we can.
Oh, then it'd be cute. You can accessorize it, maybe with some bedazzling. You can bedazzle it.
Different hats for different times. And by the way, they are commenting on your. Thank you, Emery. Yes, he is. Here's a hoot. One of the reasons that I particularly, when I thought about who I wanted to interview for this topic, and it's Charles, because we didn't want to make it sound like, oh my God, we're all doomed. It's like, you can rise above this. So if anybody out there has been diagnosed with monkeypox, know that it may not be the best time of your life, but you can't come through it, and you can have a sense of humor.
Yeah, you're not going to die, and I think that you have to choose the things like how I think people need to do what they think is the most responsible for them and what is feasible for them. Like with COVID, like, okay, do I need to wear a mask if I'm outside? Do I need to wear, but I'm going to this store. Maybe it's a better place for me to wear a mask. I think it's going to be mitigating those kinds of things. What?
Yes, Emery. I don't think a turn on line would be, may I spray your butt with some alcohol before we start?
That doesn't, I don't think, no, please. I would say no, please. I will say that I noticed, or I saw on Instagram, and I don't know where it was. Yeah, if someone tries to inject my ass with alcohol, that's a kink. That's not mine. But someone's got that kink. I'm sure of it. But anyway, what was I saying? I was saying about distracted about alcohol.
I think we were going to go into sex.
Oh, right. Yes. No, I was going to say, I did see, I don't know if it was the New York Department of Health or if it was GMHC or some other HIV organization that had said, like, okay, like we really would prefer if you have monkeypox or if you think you have it, that you don't go out and have sex. But if you do and you have to, or you whatever, the need is there, that you cover the pox as much as you can with Band-Aids and that you use a condom. So I think that
I've done it. It burns. I don't want to know. Like
it burns. It burns. Oh God! I'm holding my butt right now.
Can I Febreze your butt before we start?
Right.
Okay, folks, keep it. Folks, this is a serious topic. Now, I do have we're down to the last 15 minutes, but I do want to talk about, because we know from experience that viruses travel through your body, they go through your mind, and they definitely, viruses will mess with the mind. Think about when you even have just a cold or the flu. We do go through that depressive state. We do go into those blues. Um, Monkeypox is a virus as well. How did it affect your mind?
Yeah, it was bad. It was really awful. I kept trying to make myself okay, right? There was one day. I am not a person who I would really rather not work. I know that's not very American of me. In America, we're supposed to like work, work, work. I'm like, but I was this one day for some reason I was behind on some deadlines. I had some things that I was supposed to produce, and I was trying to write and create and do emails and stuff. And I wrote the bitchiest emails because I was just not. I was feeling, not only was I feeling actually physically sick, but I was feeling terrible about myself. I was feeling shame-filled. I was feeling dirty. I was feeling stupid, um, um, and lonesome, incredibly lonesome. I didn't have. I mean, even though I was talking to people, people were checking in on me and stuff. It's not the same as when I was just so alone, and I did have one friend who was going through monkeypox at the same time I was, and so we were checking in with each other, and that was super helpful. That, oh, my symptoms are not, oh, you're feeling that too, oh, you went through, oh yeah, that's, oh yeah, I have that, oh yeah. So that was really, really helpful to know that I wasn't alone. And he said the same thing. He was like, oh my God, Charles, I couldn't have gotten through it without you.
That's really cool. And for those of you, I do not have, I have not had it, but I did get COVID after I tripped back from Houston. And I don't know about you, Charles, but as a health advocate, when I catch something that I could have prevented, that I could have helped, it's this like, damn it, like here I am, like how did this happen? And then you think back and you're like, okay, I could have done this. Um, did any of those thoughts go through your head?
Oh, 100%, 100%. Because, like I said, I have been being sexually adventurous, and it's been freaking great. Don't get me wrong. I am 54 years old, and I am having this amazing sex life that I've never had my whole life. But it's very likely that in one of those circumstances, that one of those sexual circumstances was how I got sick. But I could have also gotten it on the subway. I could have also gotten it, so I will never know. Just like with HIV, like I will never know exactly. Like I can surmise.
Yeah.
I always tell people I got HIV the old-fashioned way.
And that's one reason. Go ahead, Mike.
No. It's just like, but it doesn't really matter. It's like how I got it doesn't matter. That I have it, and how is it treated? How can I keep other people from getting it?
Yeah.
How can I be helpful?
And you're right. Yeah, I'm sure the media screaming about gay men can't help when you're already feeling low, and then you hear these comments coming from the media, and you're like, no. And that's why one of the reasons that's one of the reasons I told the story about that doctor in Madrid, that he was on the metro, and that's
right.
What happened. And how many people out of that could have gotten infected?
Well, and even to a larger degree, they're starting to talk about getting rid of gay marriage and stuff like that. And even those now that's parenthetical to monkeypox, but it's part of the bigger conversation. And when you are feeling low, you hear freaking Ted Cruz, and your mind goes, "Oh gosh, I am lower, and I am not deserving." And yeah. I mean, you can't help it when you're sick.
I mean, knowing Charles, because I've known Charles for a while, like pretty high self-confidence and self-worth, but then your immune system or your mind with the virus hits and it starts lowering, and then all this extra information starts coming to you and you just feel lower. I mean, I can see where people get into this really depressed, because I mean, I was down with COVID for about a week, and felt really horrible. But then I had to turn around and go, okay, so you didn't wear a mask on the plane when you had a sinus infection. Like you should have known better, but you didn't. So now lay in bed and let it happen. Like it's like, what else? We have another question. We have about 10 minutes. What are your specific activities that you turn to when you are feeling depressed and perhaps ashamed? That's interesting.
Ooh, I watch a lot of television. I know every episode of Law and Order. The classics, like this new Law and Order they have right now. The new ones are not good, and the crime, the organized crime one is for shit. And I know a lot of people like SVU, but that's the most unrealistic of all of them.
Yeah, SVU is my least favorite. SVU is my least favorite.
Anyways, but also I bake. I like to cook. And so I had a friend, as I had monkeypox, I had a friend who was going through COVID. And so I like put on like plastic gloves like that you use for dyeing your hair. And I made a batch of cookies, a batch of brownies. And like his husband came over and got them and stuff. And I was like, you guys, I'm getting better, and I didn't breathe on them, and I like everything, and it was baked in the oven in the heat. So, and they didn't get sick from my brownies, but that was one of the things I do. Is I like to, I'm a creator, so like baking is really soothing for me.
So, are you calling those monkey brownies?
Now I am.
There you go.
I should have put like bananas in there or something, like dried bananas.
Welcome to the show, folks. We have about 8 minutes. So if you have any more questions, please send them in. But while we come up with another question, I want to remind everybody, just in case you're watching this live today, because we had to reschedule from yesterday to today, I have another show tonight. So if you're going to be on at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, we have, here we are. We have Cuídate del Paso, which is part of UT Texas, coming on to talk about HIV and HPV and the connection with those. I'm sorry, that's at 6 o'clock tonight. So make sure that you set your time.
It's the middle of the night where I live. That is the middle of the night.
And let me make sure I have the right time. Yes, it is 6 o'clock. I'm like, did I do that right? Yes, it is. Also reminding you that we got shows during the week. So if you want to watch more shows, we've got Christian and Daniel on Wednesdays, the Card Devo on Fridays, and Put It Together regularly is on Saturday mornings on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and LinkedIn. If you're watching us on YouTube, do us a favor, scroll down, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. Follow us, check us out at littlemexicanproductions.com, hashtag Little Mexican Productions Inc. One other thing, I've got my Grumpy Bunny books for sale. So if you'd like to purchase one of the Grumpy Bunny books, either in Spanish or in English, they're $20 each, $5 extra if you want them signed, autographed.
Jeez.
Shut up. You can send us, we can get you through Cash App, Venmo, Zelle, or PayPal. And once we connect with you, we will get your information, just mail it to you. But make sure you do that. Shut up.
I couldn't even stop myself.
You can't even. There's a reason why I put the guest in the green room when I make my announcement, but I was like, no, Charles understands the
right. No, Charles will be professional.
Charles knows entertainment. No. Before we leave, I want to repeat for you. I'm going to read just the basics of it. Monkeypox is a rare disease caused by infection with the monkeypox virus. Monkeypox virus is a part of the same family of viruses as variola virus, the virus that causes smallpox. Monkeypox symptoms are similar to smallpox symptoms, but milder, and monkeypox is rarely fatal. Monkeypox is not related to chickenpox. And a virus is an infectious agent that can only be replicated within a host organism. Viruses can infect a variety of living organisms, including bacteria, plants, and animals. Viruses are so small that a microscope is necessary to visualize them, and they have a very small structure. And those are just the simplest forms to explain those to you. I want you to have them. We have one more comment. Thanks again, Charles, for talking, sharing the details, because we don't get to hear the details on the news. It really was appreciated. Yes, I said at the beginning, I knew I could count on Charles to be able to give
Well,
the
and let
best
me promote my own stuff.
Yes.
On thebody.com, there's an article that I wrote that details my whole experience with monkeypox for the 2 weeks that I went through it. And there's also an interview I did, a half-hour interview of my At Home With show for the Body with Brian Thomas, where we talk about monkeypox and his experience and my experience. He's also a nurse, so that adds a lot of value to what he had to say. So check those out as well on Instagram.
So here's Charles's Instagram handle. So make sure you go follow him and check him out. Check out all of the interviews he has from thebody.com. You can check those out. If you want more information directly from the CDC, here's their website, cdc-info.gov.gov. Make sure you do .gov, or call 1-800-232-4636 for more information. One last question. Charles, do you feel now, even though you are over the monkeypox illness, you need to inform future sexual partners about your experiences with monkeypox?
Interesting. Well, yes and no, because right now a lot of people are, well, I was telling Daniel this before the show. Right now, I kind of don't feel like being touched yet. I'm kind of, my body's a little traumatized from everything it went through. And this was, so I'm kind of not really looking right now. But right in the city, the people that I've talked to, my friends and stuff, are asking, have you been vaccinated? And are you 2 weeks? Because the vaccine, the first dose really takes like 2 weeks before it starts really working. And then you have to have the second dose like a couple of weeks after that before you get all the power of the vaccine. So people are talking about it and asking about it and saying, like, are you vaccinated? Do you have proof? And I say to them, like, well, I'm not vaccinated. I had it. I'm immune. I have proof that I tested positive 3 weeks ago. But that's what I have. So that's also, I'm not the only person who's had monkeypox. So my situation is also going to be part of the conversation of like, hey, no, I'm not vaccinated. I'm actually immune. So
interesting. I don't want to leave because I do have this as part of our typical section. What words of wisdom do you have for our audience, Charles?
Words of wisdom. I forget about this. You'd think I would like plan something better. I think really 5,000 people diagnosed with monkeypox in the country. That's a really small statistic. It's not. It may be growing, and it is growing, I'm sure, but I just don't think that we should be in runaway fear about it. I don't think you need to be walking around like that, afraid that anybody's going to touch you. Just live your life, do the best you can, take the precautions you think are necessary, and get that vaccine the minute it's available to you.
Thank you. Again, for everybody watching, my guest today has been Charles Sanchez. We have been talking about a monkeypox story, relating his story and living with monkeypox. If you want to follow him again, go check him out at Instagram, Charles Sanchez 526. Follow him. He's got some great information, great guests on the show. He's a dear friend. I love him to death. I would never say that in public, but I do.
By the way, I'm healed. I'm totally healed. I'm healed. I'm not living with the monkeypox.
Is that really up? I mean, can we discuss that? I mean, can we?
Oh, geez. Well,
which, by the way,
I did kind of open up a can of worms tonight.
I think we're going to see each other at 2 different conferences in October. So I am so excited because we always manage to record something or do something together when we see each other.
That's true.
So that's always cool. Again, if you want more information on monkeypox or anything that ails you, check out cdcinfo.gov. I repeat that, .gov, or call 800-232-4636 for more information. Just visit the website for information. You'll get a lot of there. For now, Charles, thank you so much for being so vulnerable and funny and putting this in a way that everybody can understand it. To everybody out there, if you're watching this on replay, still ask questions. If you have questions, make comments, and I'll make sure any questions are Charles gets them and replies to them. So hold on, we have a couple of quick comments before we go. Thank you, Anne-Marie. Thank you for watching. Thank you for joining us. Yes, thank you, babe, for watching the show. Thank you for commenting. Thank you, Charles. For now, I want to thank everybody watching. This has been Put It Together, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Oop, where's my theme song?
I don't know.
Production.
La 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 la.